wanna?
She's a PR-2000, known in the industry as the Antler.
PR-2000.
Known in the industry as a post box.
Yeah, that's an instructor for you. You got to hook up some air. You can hook up your air anytime you want. It's got a 240 volt. Guys want to plug it into the big cord and twist. The back here, you see the breakers on here. The greens are showing. You want to flip this over, but I can't do that because I'm only observing. Then you can worry about the front after we talked about some safety crap. We're hiding stuff in here since nobody's doing nothing. We're doing that. Mine are gone. I didn't want to save them, but that's okay. I left them out there. Sorry about that.
I saved yours for you.
Yeah, sorry I made you clean my mess. Different sizes. We'll show you that later. It shows up on here. This guy, we're not going to mess with because it's too freaking dangerous for us. It is like a Harbor Freight. What the hell do they call those?
This one is like a stud gun.
Stud gun. That's it.
So this one, you put in here, it fuses that on there. Then you can use this as your slide hammer, and then twist to break it free.
But we're not going to use it because it gets too freaking hot and it just melts our poor little car. This guy over here, you stick your hand in here and pull the trigger, it will crush your finger. This guy here, you put this in front of you and pull that trigger, that hose will come up and rack you.
With this, something goes on top, so it needs.
Watch your backs, Chris.
On a non-mating surface, or on a mating surface. There we go.
Don't forget to let go.
Yeah, don't hold it.
I think that's all the safety.
It
This
almost
one's,
did it to Alan yesterday, didn't it?
yeah, it did. He was holding it out in front of him like that. This guy here, same thing works with this. It's the ground. If you don't have this in a happy place and you pull that trigger, it will actually blow up this machine because you left it there.
No, I never said that one.
All right.
I exaggerate.
Tell us the truth.
If you're touching this and this at the same time, the electric current goes through your body. That's what I said. Okay? So if that's hooked up to the car and you're using this device onto the car, make sure that you're not part of that circuit.
We always hear something different. All right. So we got these here. We're going to make these. Chris is going to show you how to adjust these once we turn it on.
I thought you were going to show it.
I was fired because I'm too much of a clown to, this side here controls this side, so stay away from this side. This side here controls this guy that you're going to learn how to do, makes great welds. I mean, look at these suckers. Nice welds, eh? All you're going to do is hit these buttons, changes all that. This A and B changes what kind of metal. These two arrows on the bottom do what?
That's the
Changes
type of metal.
Type of metal on the bottom?
Yeah.
I thought
if you want
A and B
galvanized, you
is-
press it over. Or
What's A and B do?
it's easier to show when it's on.
Yeah. Warning. Don't pull the trigger.
Turn it on. So once you get the 3 phases lit, if all 3 of these are lit, the machine's good to go. If even one of these are out, the machine is messed up and we need to get the electrician out here. Okay? You see it's running through its own personal diagnostics test. Okay? You can pick mild steel, and this is the thickness.
No, that's the size of the
Yeah,
weld.
that's the size of the weld.
thickness.
Yeah, that's thickness. So as you click on this guy, which is represented by this, the size of your plug weld increases. So 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 1.2, 1.2,
It's also going to change that.
1.5, 1.5, and then it'll drop it to 2, which is obviously missing on the demo checklist. 2.5, and then it goes all the way back down. Okay? Very easy, very simplistic. We've already had it calibrated to our air pressure because this has to have a certain amount of squeeze force for it to be certified to be operational. Okay, but if you need to change the air pressure, this is what you do that with.
But pretty much leave it, right?
Yeah, you guys are
Right.
just gonna leave this one. But you turn it back and forth. Okay, questions thus far?
Yep.
Okay, you can change it there and there if you want to set it a specific setting. But the best thing that you can do is take your thickness of steel, divide it by 2, and that's what you put in this. That's why it knows to fuse that thick of metal together.
So thickness of the steel divided by 2, and that's what you put in here.
Yep.
So if you had 2
Unless I'm
pieces on there,
which happens.
what are you gonna choose? You got 2 pieces on that wall? What's your number?
Yeah,
Use
so
2.0.
He's trying to be slick and say, okay, if you have metal this thick and you have it doubled like is in right here, what would you set this machine to?
1, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
1 thickness of the steel. So you would measure both thicknesses, divide by 2.
Cool.
Good.
Makes sense.
Alright. Now
No, it
what you're
doesn't.
dealing with
Come on.
right here
It's starting to.
is this is the device used to make this. Okay. Now this can and does spark if the metal you're using is dirty.
So you gotta scrape and pull the paint off and all that, right?
Not scrape, but you have to remove the paint or else it will send sparks flying. Okay? Now,
We had one last time playing with
so if I push this button right here, see how it goes forward? But nothing really happens because I'm letting go. You want to make sure that both of these are completely and 100% lined up. If they're not, don't use it. We have to adjust them. So when they do make it, see how they pretty much touching straight on?
Yeah.
Otherwise the metal can twist and it will mess up everything that you're working on.
It's no firing off because you don't keep holding it.
Exactly.
It will make a small noise before it fires off. By then you won't be holding on to anything but the gun. Because we're all scared of it.
Yeah.
Unless you're out.
So obviously this one goes in and clamps it. The longer I hold it, and that was the current flowing through. Okay? And if you notice down here, that current has so much force it actually is moving the copper wires.
You have to put it in between your legs to hold it. Make sure it's
I wouldn't do that because it's gonna smack you.
Okay. Now that's not a whole lot of places.
Mark.
That's
He's talking
okay,
about his
he's
build-
filming, guys. Come on.
Sorry.
Now. Okay, this is not a lot of room to get into places, so they developed a button on the top of the gun that actually opens it even more. Okay? Now you can use the bottom one to reclose it, or you can kind of push it with your hand. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but that's how it always works. Okay? Questions so far? Okay. Now just like with that spottle, you take the handle right here, and you twist, and it'll come off. And then you have your different adapters down here. And you can just put them on just like you did with the spottle. That's pretty much it. This side over here, like we were talking about, you can use it for heat shrinking. You can use it for the dent puller or the slide hammer. But there's all sorts of different cool little things. One thing that is really cool that we missed yesterday, if you tried to do this with a regular MIG welder, what would happen to this paper card? Just burn. Right. But as you can see, it burnt a hole into the paper, but not enough to catch the whole paper on fire. The point of this exercise is to show you that the heat, remember how when you guys were learning how to MIG weld, it was always control your heat, control your heat, control your heat. This gets hot right around this spot, but not even enough to burn the paper. Just trying to screw with it to actually leak out. But you have to have this first one first. Because then you can put whatever thickness of whatever material you're in here, and it will cook right through it. At the source, it definitely burns the paper, and probably about half a mil around it. But you can see the card is still intact, it never burst into flames. If you ever tried to do this with a MIG welder, you know for a fact the card will just catch on fire.
Yeah. Just break.
So that shows you how you can have seam sealers, you can have whatever you need in between these two pieces of metal, or three, or however many you need. You can have seam sealer and stuff like that in between, and it'll still fuse. So if you're panel bonding and pro spot, that's what the manufacturer requires for you to section a panel. You can use pro spot because if this was liquid seam sealer, it would be dry better, but it would still be in there. We actually did that too with a piece of butyl just to show it, but I don't know. Okay. Bob was not joking when he was talking about if you put your finger between these two spots, it has enough force to turn your bone into powder, which means you lose whatever it is.
Or it's caught.
Right.